Hello viewers, welcome to this episode of the program. It is Economic Insights and I'm your host, Paul Kingsley. Now, in continuation with the ongoing report we are doing on housing deficits in Nigeria, you agree with me that today we are having over 17 million housing deficits. Today on the program we have a gentleman who is going to be discussing their contribution to the development of the housing sector. I'm talking of the Managing Director, CEO of Cooperative Mortgage Bank. He is Mr. Kabir Ayinde Tuko. We shall be discussing this unfortunate scenario and also looking at possible solutions, in tackling the challenges. It promises to be an interesting conversation. Just sit back, relax. I'll be back after this time out.
Home ownership is a priority for most Nigerians. However, their accessibility has remained a dream for a significant proportion of the population due to limited sources of suitable financing and limited access to affordable housing. Cooperative Mortgage Bank has distinguished itself to become one of the leading players in the housing and mortgage sector in Nigeria, with the aim of delivering accessible and affordable homes to Nigerians. Kabir Ayinde Tukur is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer.
Cooperative Mortgage Bank Nigeria Limited is a mortgage bank registered and been in operations for over 25 years now. Precisely, we are 26 years this month that we have been in operation. We are an offshoot of the old Cooperative Bank, which transformed into Sky Bank during the bank mergers. We are licensed by the Central Bank of Nigeria to operate in the housing sector in Nigeria. Today, we are visible in about 9 states in Nigeria. And our primary business is the provision of mortgages for people to conveniently own their own homes.
With its commitment to providing affordable homes to Nigerians, the company has been able to contribute immensely to the development of the housing sector.
What we are doing currently is making home ownership affordable. Affordable in quotes. Affordable not as in cheap houses, but affordable by means of ease of payment through mortgages. You will agree with me that not many people can come out with, say, 10 million to buy a house. But if you have a mortgage, a mortgage institution like ours that says, come and take a mortgage for 10 million and pay for the next 20 to 30 years, it means that we have made the house affordable to that individual. And by so doing, the more the buyers, as it is, are empowered to be able to buy these houses, the more the developers are able to produce more houses. So our own contribution so far is banking or providing mortgages specifically for cooperative members, cooperators in Nigeria to be able to own their own homes. And this is the business we have been doing for several years now. Well, currently the challenge is the challenge of demand against supply, right? And yes, there's so much demand, but then we also have this problem of, I would say, education or enlightenment. Most buyers in Nigeria today are skeptical about buying houses with mortgages. which is somehow strange. In developed economies worldwide, their economy sits on mortgages. Like in the US or in the UK, 95% of homeowners are via mortgages, while the remaining 5% is paid for cash, while the opposite is in Nigeria. So you see, it's a huge market. So the only problem now is enlightenment. How many people realize the fact that I can easily go to a mortgage bank, get a mortgage, so long as I have a confirmed means of repayment, and then own this house rather than struggling to build the house on my own or trying to, in quote, raise the cash to buy the houses in very unconventional means. So that is basically the problem. For me, as an individual, and for us as an institution, we believe strongly that the problem is more of getting our people better organized to understand this. For example, we have a product now in which we are getting cooperatives to all come together and be saving towards owning a home. That will create the liquidity in which developers can access and build more houses at cheaper rates. And that will also in turn support us in being able to provide mortgages at cheaper rate. We currently have the lowest possible interest rates in mortgages from the private sector, which is single digits at about between 6 and 8% in Nigeria today. We are the only mortgage bank in Nigeria today, aside from Federal Mortgage Bank, that also provide mortgages at single-digit interest rates. And the essence of this is that anything above single digit, it is not affordable anymore. So we are working very seriously with the Cooperative Federation of Nigeria, which is the body that comprises of all cooperative societies in Nigeria, for us to come together, bring them together, let's save towards owning a home, and using the cooperative model of we supporting ourselves. In that case, we are able to now deliver houses, fund the delivery of houses at a cheaper rate, and of course provide mortgages for them too at a single-digit interest rate.
In Nigeria today, mortgage financing schemes are still very much at an infancy stage in their adoption. Over the years, lack of an efficient and effective mortgage financing has remained a huge albatross on the country.
In fairness to them, I will say the mortgage system in Nigeria is not fully developed. In fact, what it is today is about less than 5% of the capacity that mortgage banks should operate. So if they say that, yes, they are right. But the question is it all mortgage banks that are not operating? Today, we are providing mortgages. We are providing mortgages, but of course not everybody has come to us. Right. So if you don't look out for the institution that actually will provide you with the mortgage, it's not the fault of the institution, it's probably your fault. If you sit down and say there's a problem, this thing is not working, and like people say, if you say you've seen a bad man today, because of that you close your eyes so that you don't see. So by the time the good man passes by you, you also will not see. Like I said, in this institution today, we provide mortgages for people to own their homes, and high quality houses, not just trashes. What is responsible is a combination of three key factors. One is the funding. It's capital intensive to fund the development of mass housing. Then two it's a long-term investment that a typical Nigerian businessman does not fit into. Let me put it that way. Right. And then the third thing is that it requires a lot of planning. Earlier today, we had a meeting with a developer that wants to develop an estate or a city on about 400 hectares of land. Huge, nice, right? But the planning is important, that when you want to go into mass housing, you plan. So that by the time you set out the plan, that will work in line with two things. One, meeting the off-takers' needs, right? And then secondly, meeting your own funding capacity. So there's a need for planning. So those three key factors are responsible for that. But we as an institution, we have financed some developers, and we're still financing them, that actually engage in mass housing. And it's been a very, very wonderful and good experience. Because at the end of it all, mass housing gives you a house at a cheaper rate. And if you want to build a house on your own, right? So, and it helps you because it guarantees capital appreciation. If you have a house in a neighborhood that has all the necessary facilities like infrastructure and all that, and you have a gated community, you have the police there, you have the clinic, you have all that. So the tendency is that the capital appreciation on those type of houses will be higher than you going to build a house somewhere, there's no road, the neighborhood is just developing, your neighbor might not be ready for you to support you in building the roads and all that.
A range of issues have stunted the growth of real estate markets in Nigeria. The Land Use Act is a legislation that vests ownership of lands across Nigeria in the hands of state governors. It's a challenge that complicates the transfer of title and to a varying extent makes land for development unavailable or very expensive. Other challenges include the current high interest rate environment that increases funding costs for developers and investors.
Well, I'm not a politician. I'm not in the public sector. Permit me to say that. I don't think it's, so far it has not really had any major effect on us in the way we have set out to do things. Right. So if government wishes that that be done, then there's a need for them to do it. Or otherwise, it really has no major effect on the way we run our business. We have the way we have a securitization process, right, that ensures that when you take a mortgage from us, you must pay. If you don't pay, we have a way we foreclose. So we are not really entangled into the challenges of the Land Use Act. I don't want the government to assist us. I want us to grow. I just want the government to create a level playing ground. Look, I remember one of my late directors, he used to say, a good product sells itself. You don't need to make too much noise about it. The mortgage in itself is something that government should come begging for it to happen, because it helps you manage your liquidity. It helps you plan your urbanization, right? And it also helps you plan your economy. The economy of America and co sits on the mortgage. I know somebody, I've been there, somebody said that if you go in America today, if you go to want to buy a property and you want to pay cash for a property of about $200,000, which is about 72 million naira here, they'll call the police on you. Because why would you want to Where did you get that much cash? You understand? And so if we look at it, even in the fight against corruption and all that, mortgage is one of the major instruments that you can use. Because if I work and take, say, a civil servant, and I'm working, and I'm able to secure my future by having a house that I'm paying gradually, I'm no longer under the pressure. Or rather, the pressure for me to get corrupted reduces. Right? And in the same way too, if all mortgages means that every house, both the owner of the house and the buyer of the houses are registered. There's data now that controls it. So it means that you know the number of houses that are available in whatever community they are, and you know the buyers. So it's something that also helps in census management. Right? So that's the thing. For me, I don't want government to come and help us. No. I want us to help government. Mortgage institutions require long-term funding, not just funding. But I can tell you, it's a time thing. Every business has its, starting hitches, right? For me, if we start to come out with like what we do here, we are funding these mortgages here, right? And over time, at the initial stage, it was difficult, but when people started to see integrity in what we are doing and they see credibility in what we are doing, then the funds started to come in trickles, and it keeps growing. And it's like, everybody wants something good, and everybody wants to be associated with an institution that has credibility. So based on that, this funding keeps coming in. And then once the products are things that people appreciate, if you get a mortgage and you get a mortgage from us, you tell your neighbor, you tell your colleague at work, and then if it is a house that you're living and you're comfortable with it, once they come visit you, you talk to them. And then from there, we will get referrals from you. Right? I am of the opinion that is a lazy man that expects support from government. I would rather want us to support government. And the only way we can do that is if we all come together in the private sector and do the right thing. Right? Take control of the economy. You understand? Civil servants, civil service, they are not good managers. You understand? But we in the business sector, we are the ones that were trained and we have the capacity. Once we are in charge, right? Everything, government will come asking us for help, not we going to government for help. There's a lot. That's a big one you have just thrown at me. What you should expect from Cooperative Mortgage Bank is that we are aggressively poised to take over the mortgage banking market. Our vision is to encourage savings for as little as 2,000 naira. With the vision that I want to use, I'm saving towards owning my own house. And with that, we're able to also grow the mortgage business such that we allow people, we get people, so many people to own their own homes. For example, we have 3 products now that we are running. We're even going down to the schools to get our children, when they pay you your monthly allowance or you get your monthly allowance from your parents, why don't you just set aside 500 naira as savings that you're saving to own a home, so that by the time you graduate and you start work, it's easy for you to come to us and get a mortgage to own your own home.
All right, sir, most a very big thank you, sir, for your contribution on the program. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I know you're busy schedule, we're able to grant us this interview. We really appreciate it, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is Economic Insights, and I'm Paul Kingsley. Now, in continuation with the ongoing report we are doing on housing deficit in Nigeria, today we are spotlighting a company that is doing so well in the real estate sector. I'm talking of JHL Crest Property Limited, and with us is the Managing Director CEO is Dr. Yusuf JS. We shall be dissecting these issues and also looking at the challenges developers are facing when it comes to the housing sector in Nigeria. It promises to be an interesting conversation. Sit back, relax. I'll be back after this time out.
The rapid growth of the real estate sector often follows economic expansion and urbanization in developing countries. The growth often cuts across commercial and residential property. However, many observers note that the growth of the real estate sector in Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, lacks that of many other comparable countries. Yusuf JS is the managing director, a seasoned professional in real estate development.
JHL Crest Property Limited actually is a company that comes out of passion for housing and construction. And we've been doing that for quite some time and it's been fine. I always want to be of service to humanity. That's my first point of view. And when I have an opportunity to solve problem, I always want to go into that. And one of the reasons why JHL started is to be able to solve housing problem and effective constructions and excellence.
JHL Crest Property Limited is thriving to become one of the leading players in the housing sector in Nigeria, with the aim of delivering accessible and affordable homes to Nigerians.
I think one of the most beautiful projects that have actually distinguished us is the bricks housing that were introduced within the 36 states, and obviously is one of the solutions that the country need at the moment. We love that bricks project. Is very good, it's affordable and it's durable, and I think that's our main focus.